Cool. So I think we can get started, and I hope all our listeners can hear as well. Mohini, I can hear an echo from my end. Okay. But if I mute now, can you hear me still?
I hear you. Yeah.
No, you hear me because of there. But Lorraine, can you hear me if I'm talking now? Lorraine, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's get started.
For the delay, everyone.
Yeah, sorry, but sometimes these technical glitches can take time. So today we have Yogini Gopika, who is a tantric priestess and has spent 20 years in India. And her whole journey has been on rising the feminine invocation of priestess. And she would be there in Wonder Women Festival, joining us and sharing some of her wisdom and practices and her embodiment on Goddess Embodiment and her take on different stages as Durga, Saraswati, and Lakshmi, what we as women need to awaken in ourselves. And let's hear from Gopika, a little bit about how you got to India in the first place and in Vrindavan. She spent like 14 years in Vrindavan. So please, Gopika.
Thank you, Mohini, for the introduction and for inviting me to this festival. I'm really looking forward to collaborating with an amazing group of other women on the same path. How I got to India, well, I was always really interested in the unseen realms, that which is beyond just the 3D world. And yoga connected me with India, and I wanted to go to the roots where this sacred practice that really transformed my life. I started practicing around age 22 and in New York City, and yeah, I felt like this is not enough of the meaning why we're here, and I knew that I would find the answers in India. So circumstances gradually brought me to this motherland, which I've called home since then. And as far as the path of divine feminine awakening, like a lot of us, we start the path on this male traditional model of yoga and how it was formulated mostly by male teachers. And then I was in a society, many of you may know ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, or Hare Krishna, which, while it's very spiritual and even tantric and transcendental, it's still based on the model of the Vedantic kind of Vedic way of looking at how men and women are supposed to react, what women's place is in the society. And it doesn't really give free rein to the mysteries of the goddess and of the feminine, which is definitely more about embodied sensuality and diving deep into nature and in the rhythms of life and honoring all that is material as well as spiritual and merging them too in a sacred marriage like Shiva and Shakti or Radha and Krishna. Many people here are worshiping Radha and Krishna and Lakshmi Narayan in all forms, but do they really understand why and what that means and how important it is to revive the divine feminine here and now to basically save our planet? So that's part of the mission that I have and that I think all of the women at this festival have at some level. So I mean, just to long story short, because it's a very long story, my path led me to Nepal, where I learned Tantra, and that really opened my eyes and helped me to go deeper into this amazing kind of liberating spirituality that embraces all that you are, that welcomes the dark as well as the light. And I felt so free from kind of the dogmatic approach that didn't quite fit me. And so Tantra became my love and really what I've dedicated, I guess you could say, the past 7 or 8 years to diving deeper and deeper into that. And it's led me to uncovering my priestess and remembering that's who I am and who I came here to be, and to help guide other women to also unlock that goddess energy inside them.
So, so tell me, bhakti could be a very alien word when it comes. You're originally, you were born in America.
Mm.
So it could be a very alien word, bhakti. What does it even mean? Devotion, surrender.
Yeah.
For anybody who is not from Indian roots or tradition, how did this came across to you, and how did you open up to bhakti and devotion, and
Well,
how it
I
changed your life?
yeah,
Or what
thank you.
does bhakti even means to you?
There's a lot of layers to it. How it changed my life was that it gave me a connection with divine that was personal and very deep, and made me feel held and safe. Like I'm sheltered, I'm protected and cared for. And it allowed me to release a lot of the conditioning that we have to control everything, that we are the doer, and allowed that more heart opening. I'm going to go where my path is meant to take me approach, which took me from America, New York to Spain, to India, and back again many times, and around the world. Actually, also I traveled all around the world singing bhajan and kirtan for some years, and dance and things like that. So, but I wouldn't say it's totally foreign. I really feel like I learned it from my mother originally. If you look back to a mother's devotion that is unconditional, without expecting reward, that is, the mother is also surrendered to the child, that's really bhakti. And I had an amazing mother. I mean, I have an amazing mother still. And I think she set that foundation very firmly for me. And that's enabled me to be anchored in my own value and honoring myself no matter what has happened. She taught me that. So I think it goes back to also to that love that we experience as a child, because bhakti is love with capital letters. It's not only to God. If people mistake it, like it has to be only with God or goddess, but we have to first also feel it within ourselves in the form of self-love and devotion to our path. Even getting on the yoga mat every day requires bhakti. Getting up out of bed in the morning requires bhakti. We have to have faith that we're here for a purpose, and we have something enlivening and inspiring to do and to share with people. So it's not only making puja and ritual, although I do that, and it's singing and all these things are really important for cultivating the bhakti, but we can express it in so many ways. And I think that's really a part of the feminine awakening, is that we're breaking out of these boxes that it has to look like this, or you have to go to the temple every day and light a lamp and put an incense. It's more of an internal blossoming of the heart.
Absolutely. And it's a very beautiful point that you made here, because, in India, for many people, bhakti just mean like lighting this incense, lighting a diya in the morning in the temple. And they feel that, they have washed all their sins for the day and now they are ready. And this is a good ritual to be practicing, because this is how they have seen probably their parents or society or the culture or religion doing the same.
Yeah,
But
right.
probably real bhakti is to waking up to the self, this higher form of love which is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with
And
intention, like with the why we do things. It's not important how we do it, it's why we do it. So we can wash dishes with bhakti. We can do our laundry with bhakti. It's with a sacred connection with all of life flowing through us, allowing that to flow through us. That energy of love and
yeah, bringing up your child.
that most
Creating the festival. That's a
yes,
complete, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Purely. So yes, and so would you say that in being in Vrindavan and connecting to ISKCON, that opened those doors of bhakti for you?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. I don't know. I've gone through Shivananda yoga and other yoga schools, and I've been in various ashrams, but how the culture has become imbued in me through that you could say it's an institution, but also there's a very strong spiritual practice that is what gave me the strength and the courage to continue and to blossom out into the world, because I had such a strong kind of training ground. So my path has been one of like, there's a discipline and also there's a play and a pleasure and a fun. And in Vrindavan, I found both the joy of dancing and singing and kirtan, and, kind of people are happy and joyful there. So there's that aspect of life. And then there's the realities of living in India as a foreigner. There's the discomforts. There's a lot of things that you meet when you live in the holy dham, like Vrindavan, where your karma is speeded up. Any place that a lot of people are doing spiritual practices, everything is intensified. So your purification process is much faster than if you were sitting somewhere in the world where there isn't that high vibration, right? Because there's mantra all the time in the air, and you're doing your own sadhana. And I mean, at 4 a.m. in the morning, and being in harmony with the moon and all of these things. And definitely Vrindavan gave me everything, like this foundation. But there's been many layers even since then. Also, I could say the same about being in Nepal, in Kathmandu Valley, near Shiva, in that energy as well, that also imbued in me this Tantra lineage. So I like to bring the two together, and I feel like they work really well together as merging, this kind of connection with the divine through devotion and love, and also connection with the divine through activating your own power through yoga and through tantric practices that are esoteric and that you actually have to initiate every day inside yourself.
Yes,
so it's
I completely
like receiving the grace and also taking the step forward.
Yes, absolutely agree that Vrindavan is actually a very magnetic place. Like this town, it has very high vibrational energy. I have experienced myself opening to devotion, opening to idol worship, and really truly understanding the meaning of idol worship. Because we Indians probably since very childhood have been programmed in a way just to bow down in front of idols of different gods without even understanding what does it mean. And while I was questioning all this thing, and we were traveling to Vrindavan, and my cousin was, deeply devoted and worshipping the Bal Roop of Krishna. And I was like, I think she has gone crazy, because she was feeding Krishna, she was changing his clothes and, bathing him and all that stuff. And I was like, I think something has gone imbalanced. And then over there, just, when I was in Vrindavan, something opened for me, and Krishna just took me like, with the wave of devotion, and I completely flipped to the other side. And I understood the meaning of idol worship in a real sense as bhakti, as devotion, and, just feeling opening of this love and energy.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it's one approach, like in my path, actually, like I haven't been so much into external ritual, although I do have a deity of Gopal, because like almost everyone that lives in Vrindavan has a deity of Gopal. It's been more from the yogic path from the beginning. And I held to that even while living in Vrindavan, while everyone was like, just chanting and singing. I continued to practice asana, pranayama, and meditation on my own in my house. And I would go to the temple for the program. And also I was doing 2 sadhanas at once, because I understood that these deeper practices of awakening chakras and, it's really important to move the body and honor the body. So what kind of the shadow side of what I saw in Bhakti is like there's a lot of selflessness of like almost surrendering to the point of not caring about the self. And that's where the feminine spirituality has come in for me, that it's your foundation is self-love, and then you can carry that into your spiritual practices. And so, yoga is that, Ayurveda is that foundation. And I was studying Ayurveda while living in Vrindavan. So while it's really great to, to have your relation with the deities and feel that blessings, at the same time, we have to like practically manage our spiritual life in all aspects. And my path gradually led me out of Vrindavan, because I wasn't feeling very empowered. Like I didn't find the place for me to teach or to share as a woman, you know? And although, yeah, you had a certain role, but that was it. And, you know, when I went to live with my Guruji in his ashram, I was again able to stand in my power, playing harmonium, teaching and guiding an ashram, you know, bringing people together to collaborate, basically being a leader, you know. So I was able to, again, like bring back that strength. You know, that was kind of, it was there. And definitely when I go to Vrindavan, I emerge like a fish in water and I'm at home. But it was the Tantra that helped me to understand really the woman's place and how to honor my own inner goddess and then how to activate that in others. So that's what I'll be sharing in the, yeah, in our retreat, right?
Yes,
So I'm
yes.
kind of guiding it there.
Yes, 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 truly. So, what does it mean, the goddess embodiment for you? You know, when you say that there are different stages, and yes, so what does it mean?
Okay, I mean, well, first of all, like it's beyond the physical body. So both men and women can access their divine feminine. So this is not only for women. So if you're a man listening, it's really important for you to also get in touch with your divine feminine because that will help to strengthen your masculine as well. What it means for me is really standing in your own unique power. Whatever your gifts are, not being afraid of them. And there's different levels of awakening the goddess, which we're going to go through exemplified by the deities like you were talking, but these are the deities of the goddess. Like first we start with Goddess Durga. So we have to have the courage to claim who we are. And a lot of times women, you know, by our ancestry, I think you can agree probably in your mother's generation, it was about always serving others and pleasing others and making sure everyone else was happy. And sometimes our own self and our own desire can get lost in there. So with Durga, it's like activating that warrioress who says, this is me, this is what I want, this is what I desire, and I'm not afraid to go after it. You know, with the full weapons, with the full power, she's like charging on her lion, ready to, you know, conquer her own demons and also stand in her truth. So definitely that's really the first stage is developing the fearlessness to even begin to know oneself. And yeah, I mean, I can go from there. Like then we go on to Lakshmi, which once you've kind of cleared the way and the obstacles are out of the way, then the divine virtues come up, the abundance, you know, your expression, your beauties, you start to radiate because you're again standing in your essence. This radiance we see in our sisters, they are embodying Lakshmi, and it's not an external beauty. It's like a radiance of the soul, and from that all good things come. Lakshmi energy is something we all desire, but what we should know as women is that we already have it. And I could say the essence of Goddess Embodiment is that she knows that she's worthy just because she exists. She's valuable just in who she is. She doesn't need to prove it or to do anything. She's just here. I'm in my goddess, and I'm radiating my beauty to the world like a blossoming flower because she's filled up her own well and then it's overflowing. And then from there, as we journey, we'll go to Saraswati, which is more coming up. So this is also rising through the chakras. So Durga is more in the lower, Lakshmi, and then we come to Saraswati, which is the expression and intuition and wisdom. So she's the wise woman. So we move from like the muse and the sensual beauty to a woman who is now enlightened, empowered, totally able to see the truth, to live her truth, and to inspire others to do the same. And as you know, she's the goddess of learning and creativity and music and all of the finer things of life that blossom when you have gone through this process. So I like to take women through their goddess embodiment, through working with these three goddesses of Durga, Lakshmi, and Saraswati, because I've seen that's how my own journey has been, and I think it resonates with a lot of women this way.
Yes, very beautifully you expressed, the different forms of the goddess connected to our own life. And I think all of us has goddess, as you said, also irrespective of being in a man's or a woman's body, to have that kind of courage to step
Yeah,
into knowing our deeper truth or our deeper self. And that really asks to, cut a lot of lies and shadows and ignorance and denials which
yeah,
we all cover ourselves to comfort us to not go there because it's a path of courage. And then, yes, a lot can just blossom from there, and a whole journey of abundance can start and to share
exactly.
our gifts. Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and it takes time, and so we need support as we go through this, and that's when our spiritual community, especially our like-minded soul sisters, can encourage us to keep going. You're almost there, you're doing the good work, and it's not easy because we're kind of stepping out of an old paradigm into a new paradigm, of empowerment, but it's coming from like a soul level, and rather than I feel like I have to do this because society tells me, but it's authentic, like claiming that authentic self. That takes the courage, and even creating a retreat, it takes so much courage, and day by day to stay with it, and creating anything, it's that, that creativity of the feminine. It requires a lot of energy, isn't it? Like, for the goddess to create, she
it's
needs to
it's
be in power.
yeah, it's natural also because we all have this womb of creativity. We just need to dare to birth it and to nourish the child. So I think we are naturally gifted for it. We just need to take a step to believe in our dreams and take a step towards it. And still, like being in that feminine essence and nourishing and developing it from
Yeah.
a place of, yeah.
Yeah, like being your own mother, being a mother to yourself and giving yourself that nourishment step by step, like knowing when to rest has been a big part for, I think, a lot of us, that we give ourselves the permission to just be. And that's when the goddess awakens. I wrote an ebook on this, A Goddess's Guide to Self-Care. And it gives step by step through the Panchakosha, like all the layers of our existence, how to nourish the self at every stage. And that kind of giving ourselves the permission to rest in a world that is so busy allows the goddess to awaken, because she's happy when we worship ourselves. We're supposed to worship ourselves, to take care of ourselves, give ourselves nice oils and beautiful clothing and a beautiful place to live. I mean, this is really the self-honoring that is part of goddess embodiment very much. It's not self-neglect. It's not an ascetic lifestyle, of people think, oh, you're a yogini, but then like, why are you even sleeping on a soft bed? This is like the old thought that, you need to only sleep on the floor in a cave or something. This is not for us women embodying the goddess energy.
No, like also Osho said, Zorba the Buddha, being in the world, but being still like a Zen in the marketplace, that's the real test. Going in a cave, it's fine. Anybody can meditate because there's nothing to deal with. But being in the world, dealing everything, and still if you can stay in your Buddhahood, that's the real test, I feel.
Totally. I think that's definitely, and it continues to teach us. And actually that's like a big part of the goddess energy, is connecting with Ma and saying like, okay, I surrender. What am I supposed to learn from this? Where can I go from this? And yeah, these obstacles are there. Please help me. And we can call out to help. So we can bring the bhakti in at every stage, by anchoring in with that connection, that we're not alone, we're held, but even asking for the lesson or asking, okay, this is hard, but I know I'm not alone in it, you know?
True, true. Gopika, you would be sharing also on Tantra yoga. And it's interesting because you write Yogini Gopika, so you're a yogini and also a tantrika at the same time. So, what is this combination? You know, many people I've seen either they are just into yoga or into Tantra, but to bring a blend between two, you know, yoga and Tantra, that's also a very unique blend because then you have discipline and willpower together with the flow, you know,
Mm.
because Tantra is very flowy and no structures, and but you know yoga asks for discipline, for structure, for willpower. So how do you, what is Tantra yoga first, you know, for you, and how do you practice? And
Well, first, let me just define Tantra. Tantra is expansion through liberation of energy. So, yoga is actually a tantric practice if we're approaching it in the way like we want to move energy through the body and we are connecting with the power centers in our body, the chakras basically. So, Tantra has a lot to do with awake. Tantra yoga is about moving the kundalini through the body, but awakening the chakras as we go. So, rather than just doing an asana and breathing, we'll focus on the chakra, we'll internally vibrate the mantra of that chakra, like hum, hum, you know, but internally, and feel the awareness there. So it brings a more awareness, greater awareness to the energy body during yoga.
mm,
You know, Tantra is such an inclusive path that there's space for discipline and there's space for enjoyment because it's uniting Shiva and Shakti. And so that's what the class will really focus on, is fine-tuning the masculine and feminine energies. And that naturally happens actually in a Hatha yoga practice when you balance Ida and Pingala. Sushumna opens, Kundalini can rise. So if Hatha yoga is done properly, it's a tantric practice that's awakening Kundalini energy and balancing and harmonizing. So when people understand that, your yoga practice becomes tantric.
true, true that. And yes, I have experienced, you know, myself. I was in this yoga training for a few days and, you know, just doing the frog posture, and I'm having this full body orgasm. And then later on, teacher was talking and asking for sharing the experience. And I said, you know, I literally had an orgasm in the frog posture. And, you know, everybody just looking at my face, all these yoginis and yogis, that I think she's mental or something. I was like, well, and actually, there's such a, you know, for me, I have been doing yoga since I was 18, or, you know, going in the park in India, everywhere in the park happens hatha yoga. And then also training and, you know, learning more. But to be sincerely, you know, now have continuously, like every week, I do my practice very sincerely. And I feel that such a deep connection, you know, and it can give a more whole spectrum to ourselves if we can practice, you know, both and bring a little bit of both or fully the both in life and embrace it.
That's what it's about, like really is carrying it into life. And you know, the tantra is very much about like we get the we increase our capacity to hold the difficulties and the pleasures, the pains and the pleasures, we can say. So that's activation of Shiva energy, where the masculine is like the sacred container in which the feminine can dance, so life can happen. So the more we have actually some discipline and routine and ability to sit in stillness, the greater our capacity also for expression and for experiencing ecstatic bliss and pleasure. So we can't have one without the other. And through a disciplined practice like Tantra yoga, we get that ability. And it happens. It's not something of the mind. It's something that blossoms from within over time. It's suddenly you're like, okay, I'm feeling like a tantric now. It was like that for me. Like I was learning Tantra yoga, I was practicing, and then it was one day I just had this dawning of like, aha, I got it now. You know, and it wasn't through reading books. It was just like the energy aligned in such a way that it all made sense. you know, it's like you receive that. I think with any of the higher wisdom and this ancient wisdom, and especially also with the Bhakti tradition or Ayurveda or even sacred dance and, you know, classical dance, it's like suddenly it all clicks into place if we do our practices with faith and you know, regularity. Suddenly it, you know, it just, I mean, I say suddenly because there is this aha moment of, you know, you realize, okay, I'm actually living this, you know, this has become my reality. And it's really exciting actually when that happens, you know. And I think that we can give people that in retreats like this. You know, we create a certain atmosphere or vibe where we're able to transmit this essence in different modalities where people can really experience that inner awakening.
So there is much to look forward to in the festival. Yes, not just Tantra Yoga blend, and the Goddess Embodiment. If you have any questions, the listeners who have joined us today, please, you can write us your question and we would be very happy to take it or address it now quickly. So if you have, please write to us. And meanwhile, yeah, anything else you would like to add or say, Yogini?
Yeah, it's been nice to hear about you. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you more in the festival. And I think it's so nice because we're collaborating as sisters and to both share and receive. And we need more of that in the world, collective spaces of community where we can inspire each other and encourage and support and celebrate life. We'll have celebrations too, and some rituals with Mother Nature and the ocean, or the sea, we should say, and the Arabian Sea here in Goa. So it's a lot of mother energy, a lot of nature energy we'll bring in too.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And you know, there is few women when I was talking to them, so they were like, "No, we want to come to your mixed gender tantra retreat because we have more issue with men, you know." And I was like, "Listen, we need to embody and strengthen, and you know, really surface and root ourselves into our feminine to have that harmony in, you know, with the masculine inside and outside." We think that okay, we will work in this mixed gender group, that so I would say that this is just an excuse, you know, our mind give it to us that hey, no, this is not for me. Because
Yeah,
first time when I went to a tantra retreat only for women in this space, and I also had a lot of like, no, it's not for me, or this is this, I like more with the mixed genders. But the moment I was there after the day, I could really feel this healing and easiness. And when sisters, you know, or women just come together, there is so much opening and possibility of learning and community and healing together, which is probably not possible when we have the mixed gender group.
totally. I agree. I really agree. It's we're designed to come together and connect with each other because Shakti amplifies in circle. And even beyond that, it's like when you relax into your feminine, then all other problems kind of disappear, you know. So everything improves when you're sitting in your divine feminine energy and moving from that place of embodied love and sensuality and freedom and, you know, everything that the divine feminine stands for. If you approach life from that place, especially your relationships, you know, they'll enhance, you know. That's all. That's like everything. It
Actually,
enhances everything.
these women's circles are just an enhancement, you know, knowing we can, when we listen to other, you know, women in the circle, we feel like, oh yes, this also, you know, you resonate so much with the similar issues, and everything comes on surface, and there is a more way for us to resolve our own self and, you know, get together in this ocean of love and sensuality and easiness. You know, there's a lot of easiness and pampering, I feel, and learning which comes went into these, only women circles. And also we can address the spiritual path for women in a much more deeper way. We feel, because in India, I've seen especially most of the gurus, our teachers are male dominant body.
Yeah.
So, we feel that, okay, maybe just sitting, closing our eyes is the only way of meditation, but which probably could not be for everyone. So,
Right.
what could be the spiritual path for women is also to know and connect with their bodies on a deeper self, and connecting with this sensual body, this heart, this intuition,
Yeah.
opening to these essence, which we feminine is very naturally gifted to learn about our womb and wellness and opening to the creativity. So all this is a lot more possibility when we are coming together into these women's circles.
So well said, Mohini. I love that. Like the womb, like the sensual body, the heart, and the intuition. And I think that just really goes back with the Durga, the Lakshmi, the Saraswati. It's we're, we're self and not negate one as being higher, one being lower, because the body is divine and sacred, and she likes to move and she likes to play and dance and and be pampered. I love that, women pampering women. We need to love each other and heal each other. I just, before our call, a sister came here to be with me for a couple hours, and we were sharing our, what's going on in our lives and our stories, and we were doing tarot, and it just, we kind of just came into this whole priestess energy and started to get all these creative ideas. And that's what happens when women come together. We can build a new world, a community that more suits the values of the divine feminine, which, like, whenever we come together, it's a stepping stone toward that, toward the new earth, towards birthing a society that honors the feminine, that respects the planet, that is more loving and less, let's say, aggressive, more inclusive, and all of that. So, yeah, I hope, yeah.
Thank you, Yogini, for this wonderful conversations. And I hope more and more women can step forward, into the path of courage and knowing and discovering ourselves more deeply. Because I feel meditation is the only answer to know really, really ourselves and to live a life of fulfillment and contentment. Otherwise, probably we're just scratching the surface.
Totally.
Yeah, and these kind of festivals are wonderful opportunity to even know what kind of meditation practice probably is for us, because we share so many kind of different things
Yeah.
that you can identify, oh, this particular practice resonate more with me, or this particular style resonate more with me.
Yeah.
So yes, please
Yes.
share about this festival. Please have a look and come forward. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an open
Come and
invitation.
explore and play with us and celebrate, and we will have some beautiful rituals and many
Yeah.
surprises.
And if men, you are listening to us, send your women, send your friends. One empowered woman can really make ripples in the water and in the society. So please.
Yeah, indeed. Yay, Ma, for that.
Thank you, everybody. And if you still have a question, you can always send it to us, and we will try to reply in one of our next conversations or via writings. So thank you, Yogini.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mohini.
everybody.
Such a pleasure. Ah,
Thanks. Bye bye.
bye.
Ciao.
Yay.